Life sucks. That's what I said when I was 18, 19, 20, 21. That's what most teenagers at that age say. Life sucks. Except I think as time has gone on, what was 18 when I was 18 is now 25. At the same level of responsibility and maturity. And so now 25-year-olds are walking around saying, life sucks, and then you die. Well, it's always been that way. I remember hearing my parents talk about an article they had seen in a newspaper when I was like 10 years old. And some author had said that the next generation, talking about me, Generation X, will never be able to attain the levels of wealth that our generation have attained, the boomers. And they will always be struggling. They may not even be able to buy homes. Does any of this sound familiar to you? This argument has been made in every successive generation for as long as you can remember. There's always some doomsayer saying, everything sucks. Nothing's going to be right. The world's coming to an end. The most extreme people hold signs in Times Square saying the world is ending. The average person just goes online and complains about it. So today I want to talk about, it's not as bad as you think. You got a lot more control over it than you probably want to have. And you can turn it into anything you want. You can have the life that you choose if you just choose the life that you want. This is Life 2.0. Let's talk about it. First, I want you to imagine just for a minute what it would be like to be completely invisible. How you would get around, how you would shop, how you would make money. Think about that movie that came out, I think back in the 80s with Chevy Chase called The Invisible Man. Ironically, I read the book before that movie came out, like a decade beforehand. And the book was much better than the movie. But it did present some interesting problems. It was kind of comical and funny because Chevy Chase is like that. But the whole idea is that being invisible has a lot of challenges to it. You got to avoid bumping into people. You got to avoid crowded places. It's hard to drive a car. Anyway, the truth of the matter is you are invisible. The vast majority of people on this planet cannot see you, do not see you, and even if they can, they don't care. Now you may say, John, that is some shitty stuff to say, man. That is nihilistic, man. No, it's not. It's liberating. When you realize that you are the subject of your story, of your life, and you are not the object of anyone else's concern, well, now you're free to move about the planet. You can do whatever you want. Life is yours to live. It's your story. You're living it. You live it from the inside out, subjectively. You are the person who makes the rules. You are the judge. You are the jury. You are the executioner of your own life. You do not need to play rules by anyone else's, you do not need to play the game by anyone else's rules. I mean, obviously you've got to work within the law or you'll go to jail, but you don't need to play this game the way anyone else says it needs to be played. You can play by your own rules. And in fact, I would argue that the most successful people in the world do exactly that. They play the game by their own rules. And so long as you're playing by someone else's rules, so long as you think that society is dictating to you the way this game should be played, so long as you think that someone's got you down, someone's holding you in place, someone's preventing you from doing what you want, then that's the game you're playing. Those are the rules that you play by. And those are the rules that will limit your success, your happiness, and all the things that you want in your life. The next time you find yourself wondering, but what will people think? Will they judge me? What will they say? Stop and ask yourself, what will I think? What will I say? You see, in order to live your life authentically, in order to play by your own rules from a subjective standpoint, you've got to have some intention. You've got to have a direction for yourself, which sounds straightforward enough. I mean, it's a simple concept, but it's not as easy as it sounds. Because it means that when you dedicate yourself to a particular direction, that you are by default sacrificing all the other directions that you could have gone. And that's what paralyzes a lot of people. It's like, well, if I commit myself to this, then I won't have that. And that's a very limited way of thinking. It's as if everything is very linear and everything that you do just takes you in a single direction. But really what happens is every time you move in a particular direction, it starts opening up doors. I picture it like a hallway. And as you progress down that hallway, there are more and more doors that are available to you. Some of them are closed, some of them are open, some of them you may have to break down. But it creates possibilities that did not exist prior to that. And there's nothing to say that going down one path won't lead you to something completely different. The act of having intention and moving deliberately in the direction of your own authentic happiness, fulfillment, will always take you to that place. Now, you may have some detours along the way, but it will always take you to those places. But you have to start with that intention. And you've got to be thinking in terms of living your life subjectively. What's this life about to me? What's meaningful to me? What am I giving meaning to in my life? Because if you don't answer those questions in your life, you will wander around complaining, life sucks, and it won't ever get you anyplace. You will be the invisible man, not only to everyone else, but to yourself. And I can't imagine a more, desolate way of living. Here's an interesting thought for you. We only have 5 senses in which to experience the world. However, the world has a lot more going on than what we are capable of experiencing. We've built devices that help us understand that. The smallest building blocks of our universe, these subatomic particles, act completely differently than the large objects. This has befuddled scientists now for well over 100 years, 125, 130 years. Quantum physics is not just a strange way of thinking, it's stranger than we are capable of thinking. It blows the minds of the most thoughtful and intelligent physicists that have ever lived. They all scratch their head and think, there's something else going on here. One of the things going on there is that how you look at something and with what intention you have when you look at it changes the behavior of a physical object. That's right. Think about that for a minute and how that might apply to your life. When you change the way you think about something, that something changes. The way you experience it changes. Now, the wonderful power that gives you is that you can change your perspective on any set of circumstances and change the way it affects you in your life, physically, emotionally, psychologically, financially, any way you want. You can look at negative things that come along, which inevitably they will, and get lost in the quagmire of judging them as being negative and that you are a worthless piece of shit because this is what always happens to you and the world is always shitting on you and you're a victim of the whole mess. Or you can see it as a challenge. You can see it as an opportunity. You can see it as a springboard to whatever comes next. It's all about the way you approach life. If you see life sucking all the time, guess what? It will suck all the time. But if you see life guiding you through these obstacles and these challenges to your intentional outcome, what you want for yourself, is guiding you to the direction that you want to go, it's trying to keep you on track, then the whole universe seems a little bit friendlier. Even when something negative happens, you start and think, well, maybe I need to reassess. Maybe I need to take a break here and redirect myself. I remember going to restaurants when I was a kid with my grandparents. And back then, you didn't go to like a chain restaurant. They were actually people who owned restaurants in the community. They would make food from scratch. And we would go to these little diners out in the country, and this was not healthy food, but it was delicious. Anyway, they would have these little paper, placemats as a kid, and they'd give you some crayons. And inevitably on the back of these things, and I love this, there would be a maze. Oh, if I could just get a maze, man, I was there. I didn't like the tic-tac-toe that much, it was fine, but man, the mazes, that's what I wanted. Because I knew the secret to a maze. That if I started at the end and I worked my way back to the beginning, I could always master the maze. And I would look at all the different possibilities that had come up if I had just looked at it the other way. If I had started at the beginning and tried to get to the end, I could have gotten sidetracked a million times. Now you may be saying, John, but you're cheating. You're absolutely cheating at the maze. You are a cheating kid. And I would agree with you. But again, I'm living my life subjectively. I'm playing by my own rules. I don't need to do the maze from the front to the back. I can do it from the back to the front. And so can you. When you start seeing your life and your goals and what you want from the end, rather than from the beginning, well, it gets a lot easier. It gets a lot easier because now you know where you're going, and you can start to even move backwards from the end to today, and you can start to see the steps that you need to take in order to achieve anything that you want in your life. Suddenly, the possibilities become endless. Now, if you're going to be aggressive and set some really massive goals for yourself, well, there might be a lot of steps between here and there, or from there and here. But nevertheless, it's still doable. It's still a path that you can follow. Most people fail in life because they don't know which direction to go. They don't know what the first step is. They don't know how to move through the steps in order to get to where they want to be. But if they just start at the end and move their way backwards toward the beginning, well, things get a lot easier. And then you stop saying the words, I'm going to, or I will, or any projecting into the future. And you start realizing that I am going to be that. I am going to be a doctor. I am going to be a millionaire. I am of that millionaire mindset. I am in that place. See yourself there all the time. Rehearse what it's like to be that. When you're walking around in your day-to-day life, just imagine that that goal has already manifested, that it's already happened, that you've already got it now in the here and now. And just feel what it feels like to have that. When you can clearly imagine in your mind what it feels like to achieve that, you can't help but create it, no matter how silly and ridiculous it may seem. And I'm going to tell you a story that you're going to doubt me. You're going to say, John, there is no freaking way that happened. But I am living proof of it. I attest to this. So when Shelby, my golden doodle here, was a pup, we started walking these trails 12, 13 years ago, 2013, so that's 12 years ago. I had to train him, put him on a leash, walk him around. Started with short walks, half a mile, that kind of thing. Didn't know the trails very well, but we were adventurous. We stretched out, we got to further and further and further. And as time went by, I found that I loved it out here. Like this was my place. I had found my home in the world. I believed that I needed to be in the tropics. I thought I had to go back to Hawaii, which is where I grew up, in order to find this level of peace. Because I remember having that when I was there as a kid. But here and now, in this place, right this minute, I could not be more at ease. Now my problem, way back then, a decade or more ago, was I had a job that required me to go to an office and sit in an office with buzzing lights over my head and people with problems and customers and phones and all that stuff. Deebu, where are you going, man? We're all here. Come back. Come on. Come. And I hated it. I hated fucking that job. I hated that fucking job. I didn't ever fuck the job. I hated it. Paid me a lot of money, so I was a prisoner. Had health insurance, had retirement, had all these golden handcuffs on me. I was stuck in that shithole. But I imagined when I was out walking Shelby back then, and then later Jax, what if there was a way that I could make a living walking these trails? What if there was some way that I could combine my need to earn a living with my desire to be out here in the forest every day? Now, the thought just passed through my head, and I thought, you idiot, who's going to pay you to walk around in the woods? But I continued to walk around in the woods. And of course, when my wife left, I spent a lot of time walking around in the woods. It became a place of reflection. It became a place of learning and understanding, and a place where I could clear my head and find the thoughts I needed and the motivation I needed to pull my life together. And then my daughter started a YouTube channel, and it took off. She got like 30 or 40,000 subscribers real fast. She was driving around the country in a van that she built. I mean, she's an amazing young woman. And I thought, I think I could do that. You know, I had no clue about any of this shit. I never filmed anything in my life. You know, I could barely operate the camera on my phone, so I knew nothing about none of that. Well, I figured it out, and here it is a couple years later, and I'm walking around in the woods with my dogs, making videos, talking to a camera, and YouTube sends me a check every month for doing this. So tell me that you can't manifest, that you can't create what you want in your mind. Who would have ever thought that this was possible? I, in the beginning, thought it was just a pipe dream. Like I couldn't see a path to it, but I just kept imagining it over and over and over again, and dreaming of the possibility of being able to walk around in the woods and find a way to make money. I thought that I would write books about it, quite honestly. I thought that I would write books about my reflections on life and divorce and all that stuff. But then when I saw my daughter and her YouTube channel, I realized that I had a much more direct access point to the public. I could communicate with those people who are interested much more immediately, and I could get those thoughts and change them and morph them as I grew as a person and express them in meaningful ways. So, your dreams are possible. But again, you gotta live your life subjectively. Don't care what other people think, because there's not a single soul in the world that would have said, yeah, John, that's a great idea. You should definitely start a YouTube channel. You know nothing about cameras, nothing about editing. You've never made a video in your life. You can't even operate the camera on your phone. That's definitely the target you should be shooting for. You know what I mean? Nobody would have gone for that. Nobody would have advised me that was a good idea. But here it is. Here it is a couple years later, and here I am making videos. So those of you guys who've been watching my channel for a while, you know I talk a lot about being your authentic self and authenticity as a whole. Being authentic, when you break it down, means your life has purpose. Men in particular, I think, thrive when they have a purpose, especially a purpose that's bigger than themselves. I think that's why we're self-sacrificial. We thrive in environments where, like in the military or in a marriage, or dedicating our lives to a larger cause. This is something that we do really, really well. So having purpose is critical. Serving others is also the critical part of it. So when you look at the core of authenticity, when you are living from an authentic place, you will find in your life that your life has purpose and that you are of service. I know there are those people who are going to say, I'm in service to making money. I'm in service to myself. I'm in service to being rich, or whatever it is you think you want. I am here to tell you without doubt that in order for you to achieve anything of value, of meaning in your life, you need purpose and you need to be of service to others. When you have those two things going for you, it's like the entire world conspires to help you achieve whatever it is you want. Because that's just the way the universe works. I don't know why it happens like that, but it just does. Because when you're helping other people get the things that they want, you're going to get all the things that you want. It just happens that way. I think it was Zig Ziglar who said, you know, if you help enough people get what they want, you'll get exactly what you want. And I believe that to my core. I've seen it happen over and over and over again. So this is your mission. If you're going to be authentic, if you're going to live your life subjectively, if you're going to have a goal and live with intention, well, you've got to live authentically. And that means that you're going to need to have a purpose and you're going to need to serve others. growing up in Hawaii and seeing the ocean up close and personal, and then walking, these trails and seeing how this stream has carved its path through this valley and created this valley, really, it brings to mind just how powerful being persistent, being flexible, moving around obstacles. Water is a perfect metaphor for how to achieve things that you want in your life. My point here is that obstacles are always going to appear. There's always going to be something standing in your way. Be like the water. Find a way around it. Find a way to move through it. Find a way to be persistent and get around, through, over, whatever, to manage your obstacles. Do not be resistant to it. When you stand in the ocean, this is the metaphor I was thinking about before, when you stand in the ocean where the water breaks, where the waves break, if you just stand there where the breakers are, they will knock your ass down and drag you up on the shore. That is not fun. You get sand all in your underwear and you're in your bathing suit all up in your crack and stuff. You get skinned up all on your chest. I've been caught in that washing machine where you get all tumbled around and you get knocked to the ground. Thought I was gonna die once. Hey, stop, hey. I don't know, there's somebody over there, I think. Deebu's gonna get all upset with them. Just stay here, Deebu. Hey, come here, pal. Just okay, pal. Just relax. But if you just ride the wave, if you just jump with it, and if you just catch that wave and ride it down to wherever it's going, it's a nice smooth ride. It's a lot of fun and you can enjoy it. But if you stand there where the water's breaking, yeah, you're gonna pay a big price. So don't resist what's happening. Go with the flow. Move out of the breakers. Go to the deep water if you have to, but don't stand there where all the violence is. Find a way to avoid the resistance. Row your boat down the stream, not up the stream. It's not the way the song goes. You row your boat down the stream. Go with the flow. Find a way to use the momentum around you to achieve the things that you want, and life becomes so much easier. Finally, because you're living your life subjectively, you get the freedom to make certain choices. And there's one choice that you have to see clearly in your head and make every single day, no matter what. And you got to make that choice first thing in the morning. Because if you can do this every single day, from this point forward, your life will take a significantly better direction. And that is, you must decide first thing in the morning whether you're going to be happy or not. Whether you're going to choose happiness. And what I mean by that is, you're going to take a more optimistic, more lighthearted, more enjoyable view of the world. And you're going to see the world through the prism of happiness, joy, fulfillment. You're going to see that that's just the way the world is. You're going to appreciate all of those little things that you have in your life, and you're going to find positive meaning in them. Because you're going to look for it. You're just going to look for those things. Now you can look for the negative things. You can try to find things that are negative, and you will. I suggest that you don't. I suggest that you just relax into it, appreciate what you have, find those things that give you joy, and focus on them. It's very easy to get down on yourself when things don't work out right. I mean, you get a divorce, you lose your job, change careers. When life shits on you, and it inevitably will, you don't have control of those things. There are things that are just going to happen in your life. However, there are some things that you have control over, and you need to exercise that control with intention. And that's why I made this video, because when you can pull the levers in your own life to guide it in the direction that you want to go, it makes you less vulnerable and more resilient to those things that inevitably are going to come down the pike that are going to throw you off, or intended to throw you off your mark. You're going to be able to regain your frame of mind. You're going to be able to get back on track much more quickly if you use these tools. It's very easy to become nihilistic and to walk around saying life sucks and nothing's working out and the whole world shits on me and everything sucks. Everything's getting worse. It's not getting worse. I mean, there's some things getting worse, but generally, I think we're heading in a better direction on many, many fronts. There are less people die in wars. I know there's just a genocide now in Sudan, but there's still fewer people dying in wars. There's less crime than there was, even back when I was a teenager, you know? There's fewer teenage pregnancies. The world's figuring itself out. But at the end of the day, it just matters about your life and how you want to live it. And when you are living from a place of authentic service and purpose, and you are making that choice to be happy, and you are subjectively making decisions about the rules in your life, well, I think the whole world just gets a little bit better. When you're doing your thing the way you want to do it, and you're achieving greatness, then we all achieve a little bit of greatness from that. Anyway, that's all I got for you today. I certainly hope you've enjoyed the video. If you have, please like and subscribe. If you know someone who might benefit from this video, I would ask that you would share it with them. But in the meantime, stay healthy, and if you can, stay single.